Where you are, but you may want to start changing your ways, change your ways. We're changing your name, change your name. Cheater, my.
I'm so proud to be here to say to the people of the city of New York, I am seeking re-election to be your mayor. And I told all of you this was going to be the most interesting political campaign in the history of the city. It didn't stop on June 24. No. It started on June 24, and it would keep going into November 4.
The New York mayor's race is officially underway after the incumbent Mayor Eric Adams kicked off his re-election bid as an independent. He is going to face off in November against, among others, Zohran Mamdadni, who declared victory after Tuesday's Democratic primary. There's also Curtis Sliwa, who won the uncontested Republican primary. Former New York Governor Andrew Cuomo, who lost in the Democratic primary, is also considering an independent bid. Let's bring in New York City Comptroller Brad Lander, who also ran in the Democratic primary. Lander cross-endorsed Mamdadni in the primary. They have ranked choice voting there, and he's now supporting him in the general election. Comptroller Lander, thanks for joining us. So Mamdadni is already facing a slew of attacks from Republicans, some of them quite bigoted and offensive. Today, Republican Congressman Andy Ogles of Tennessee posted a letter that he sent to Attorney General Pam Bondi, in which he writes in part, quote, Zohran Little Mohammed Mamdadni is an anti-Semitic, socialist, communist who will destroy the great city of New York. He needs to be deported, which is why I am calling for him to be subject to a denaturalization proceeding. He is obviously a naturalized citizen, but he is an immigrant. What's your reaction to that attack?
I mean, it's appalling. He has faced death threats during the campaign. A city council member called for his deportation. It's just gross, racist bigotry. But meanwhile, he's running an optimistic, upbeat campaign for a New York where everybody belongs. And I feel proud as the highest-ranking Jewish elected official in New York City to be supporting somebody who would be the first Muslim mayor. Like, what could be more New York City than that?
Well, let me ask you about that, because as you know better than I, New York City is home to the largest Jewish community outside of Israel, and as the highest-ranking Jew in New York, I'm sure you've been hearing quite a bit from your fellow Jews about concerns that they have about Mamdadni, such as he seems to not believe that Israel has a right to exist as a Jewish state. What do you tell your Jewish friends and
as a Jewish state, he seems to believe the South doesn't have the right to exist as a white Christian state. And he seems to think that black people shouldn't live in second-class citizenship in South Africa. What do you tell your Afrikaner and your Southern Baptist supporters?
And constituents?
Yeah, and I take it real seriously. I'm a proud Jewish New Yorker. I'm, raising 2 Jewish kids in New York City. I'm very anxious about the rise of anti-Semitism, and I want a mayor who will keep Jews and all New Yorkers safe. And I would not be supporting Zohran Mamdadni if I wasn't confident that he would. I don't agree with him 100% on Israel and Palestine. We're not running, though, for foreign policy. We're running for the city of New York. And he is deeply committed to not just increasing protection against hate crimes, but against anti-Semitism, increasing by 800% what is spent on making sure that all Jews and all New Yorkers are safe to pray, to worship, to travel, to work, to walk around their neighborhoods free from fear. And I'm confident people will see that as they focus on the race. Meanwhile, you have these other folks who are trying to weaponize anti-Semitism like Donald Trump did in his tweet attacking Zohran, in which, again, he called Chuck Schumer a Palestinian. These are offensive. It's like treating Jews as pawns for political purposes, and it's gross bigotry. And New Yorkers are going to show, just like they did in the primary, that we're better than that.
It would be nice if what happens in the Middle East stays in the Middle East, but obviously there have been a lot of protests against what the Israeli government is doing, and there has been some anti-Semitic violence by pro-Palestinian activists in the United States. This year, we've seen it at Governor Shapiro's house in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, in Boulder,
That
Colorado.
guy was just a schizo, not doing it for Palestine. He was literally just a mentally ill schizo. You could only say that the assassination of Israeli embassy workers, but he wasn't Jewish. He was a German Christian who voluntarily worked for Israel's embassy. Now, you could say what you will, but he didn't shoot him because he was a Jewish person. He shot him because he wasn't. He shot him because he worked for the Israeli embassy. You could say it's anti-Israeli violence, but that is not anti-Semitism, like Jake.
Colorado, here in Washington, D.C., when Mamdadni was asked by the Bulwark's Tim Miller if he had any issue with the phrase globalize the Intifada, which a lot of Jews do because they think it means bring anti-Semitic violence from Israel and the Middle East to all over the world, he was asked if it made him uncomfortable, Mamdadni. Here was his response.
What I hear in so many is a desperate desire for equality and equal rights in standing up for Palestinian human rights. And I think what's difficult also is that the very word has been used by the Holocaust Museum when translating the Warsaw Ghetto Uprising into Arabic, because it's a word that means struggle.
Sure.
And as a Muslim man who grew up post 9/11, I'm all too familiar in the way in which Arabic words can be twisted, can be distorted, can be used to justify any kind of meaning.
So I've never seen this happen before. The U.S. Holocaust Museum responded to what he said there, posting the statement saying,
well, and this, ladies and gentlemen, is the weaponization of the Holocaust to commit another genocide, which is one of the most depraved things I've ever seen in my life. And there truly is no bottom. They said the Holocaust Museum on their own website for years and years and years, and their Arab translation called it the Warsaw Ghetto Intifada. And they were forced to change it within the last 6 months by Zionists who were humiliated by the fact that pro-Palestinian advocates were pointing it out. And so they had to translate it to something that actually is even more radical in favor. They use a different word, which is actually part of the abbreviation for Hamas.
and quote, exploiting the museum and the Warsaw Ghetto uprising to sanitize the phrase globalize the Intifada is outrageous and especially offensive to survivors. Since 1987, Jews have been attacked and murdered under its...
This is, by the way, Brad Lander. By the way, here we are 5 minutes in, still talking about this. And Brad Lander, because he's a Jewish Zionist, is constantly pretending that the fucking delusions of Zionists is some sort of real thing. I don't care if you have some bullshit beliefs about Jewish people being targeted by Zohran. There is no evidence. It's a delusion. You're being delusional.
Banner, meaning globalize the Intifada, all leaders must condemn its use and the abuse of history. Does it make you uncomfortable with New York, the epicenter for so much of this pro-Palestinian, anti-Israel protest, some of which has been anti-Semitic, some of which has been violent, not most of it, but some of it? Does it make you uncomfortable that he won't condemn that phrase?
Well, first, the phrase globalize the Intifada absolutely makes me uncomfortable. And I mean, I named my son after a leader of the Warsaw Ghetto uprising. And I've made real clear, you know, people might mean something different, but all I can hear when you say that is open season on Jews after what happened in Boulder and what happened in D.C. I go to a lot of Jewish communal events, and I don't want to keep looking over my shoulder. And I made that real clear. He clarified it's not language that he uses or I think has ever used, you know, and that he doesn't believe in policing other people's speech. That said, the question for me is, will he be a mayor who works hard to keep all Jews, including Jews like me, who do believe in the vision of Israel as a Jewish and democratic state, safe? And I am confident that he will. And what I hope we can...
This is why liberal Zionists in your ranks, like, are just such a detriment. They're such a detriment. What Brad Lander should be saying is, these beliefs have absolutely no merit. And I'm a Jewish man, and Zohran respects and loves Jewish people. You're being nonsensical. Let's talk about the city of New York. Jake Tapper, you fucking clown.
Can do, as he and I have tried to demonstrate over the last couple of weeks, is show how we could listen better to each other. He pledged on election night to work harder to understand and listen to people and make clear he will have everyone's back. We're not going to resolve how people feel about the conflict between Israelis and Palestinians, but I really do believe that we can show that we'll have a mayor who's going to keep everyone safe, who will listen to Jews. But we also want to make sure we're listening to Muslim New Yorkers, Iranian New Yorkers. Like, it is an incredibly diverse city. And what's happening right now, I think, is that people are trying to weaponize the conflict, even weaponize anti-Semitism in a pretty dangerous way. So what I hope we can do is, like, turn the temperature down, make clear there's no room for violence or for hate, and give him room to build some unity around a vision of the city in which everyone, again, mostly wants an affordable home in a neighborhood they feel safe in with a great school for their kids. That's why people voted for him in big numbers and why I'm confident they will again in November.
New York City Comptroller Brad Lander, thank you so much. Appreciate your time today, sir.
Thank you.
Here,
Brad Lander, if he's going to go out there and take the bullets for Zohran, I mean, I'm not going to say don't do it, but look at the way this interview went. 8 minutes trying to pump up the idea of anti-Semitism, and Lander didn't treat it like it was ridiculous. He treated it like it was real. He's giving it oxygen with his cowardly fucking behavior. I'm sorry, guys, but this is fucking garbage. We need, like, learn the lesson of CORBYN. If we let them pretend like this shit is real for 6 months, it's going to create a cloud over Zohran that the Zionist scum like. It's time for us to double down. I am not loyal to Israel. I'm loyal to New York. Anybody tell you to be loyal to Israel is fucking weird.
3-3 WNYC 4-3 News is the apparent victory.
Yesterday, I congratulated him on his victory, and I raised some issues that if he does become the mayor, will be very important that we not only work on together, but I raised some concerns that I had.
Right off the bat, a major Democratic politician talking to another Democratic nominee and before the election and saying, if you win, what? And saying that publicly. So is she trying to undermine the Democratic Party? I thought this is vote blue no matter who. What happened?
What issues, what concerns?
Well, I congratulated him on his laser-like focus on affordability. He was an excellent communicator in talking to New Yorkers about the challenges that they have.
Whenever somebody says someone is an excellent communicator as the first thing they're saying, this is politician speak for, he's a really good liar. Okay? If you like someone and you agree with them, you don't talk about their communication skills. You say how their ideas are good, they're a good leader, they're an inspirer. If you're like, your communication skills is good, you're saying the person is a good liar and a good charlatan. It's been utterly delicious, the most delicious of moral treats. That's not what moral means. To watch you crash out over the SCOTUS ruling. I'm not crashing out. I'm pointing out that liberals are shit, as usual. Little Guff, I'll be there. He literally crushed Cuomo's ass, bro. You guys are so... Trump Liquor 77. You create your account. You don't get to post on a new account. You have to post on your main, man. You don't get to post on 11-minute-old accounts. Imagine trying to taunt me after the most delicious fucking landslide victory, proving all of my arguments correct. What a fucking dummy. Anyway, okay.
Affordable housing is top of mind for the work I do in the Senate. I'm now on the Appropriations Committee, so I'm in charge of really focusing resources for affordable housing as well as transportation and mass transit. And I talked about the importance of talking about food security. It's not right in this country, as powerful as we are, that any child or any senior goes to bed hungry. And that's something
Wait, so what's so wrong with him? You're backing him on mass transit. You're backing him on food desert resolution. What's your big problem with him then? I'm intrigued.
Focused on for a long time, especially food deserts. And so one of his ideas about food deserts was getting government more involved in providing grocery stores. I have legislation about creating public-private partnerships.
Public-private partnerships? Oh, I'm a neoliberal. Oh, I'm going to come. Oh, the government's going to give money to connected fucking capitalists. Oh, I'm going to come. Oh, God, we got to give government money to a rich person. We need more government handouts to the rich. Yeah, I'm going to come. Like, this is if you hear the phrase public-private partnerships, it's bullshit.
Do exactly that, and so that might be an area where we can work on together. And he also focused on the fact that costs for not only housing and food, but for everyday life continues to go up. And so whether it's medicine or other costs, those are areas we can work on together. And so I introduced myself, told him the things I work on, and I raised the two issues with public statements about Israel that gave me concern, and I raised the issue of public safety, which is really important for New Yorkers.
What did you ask him to do with respect to either of those?
Well, I'm not going to disclose our conversation because these are personal conversations.
Chat, Vio gave me breakfast. It's a protein shake. Thanks, Vio.
But I raised them on behalf of constituents who had deep concerns about those very, very exact issues.
Well, is there even a potential world in which you might support Eric Adams running as an independent, or Andrew Cuomo, if he also does that, over the Democratic nominee?
I vote in Albany, so while I have followed the New York City race, my voting is in upstate New York, and I have tried to leave this.
By the way, this statement in and of itself should be disqualifying. The Democratic Party is going to give up New York City? Get him out. Get her out.
Voters of New York. Obviously, I will work with whoever is mayor, as I will always do. And my focus this week is entirely on this ridiculous reconciliation package that President Trump is shoving down the throats of Republican senators. And that reconciliation package alone will be very destructive for New York City. So whoever wins
As
this
somebody
race,
in New York, does calling her accomplish anything? Yes. You should absolutely call her and say she should either endorse Mamdadni or resign.
I will be working with them to make sure these Medicaid cuts do not result in people without health care, and these cuts to SNAP don't result in people going hungry. But it's a very challenging time, and we need leaders who understand what people are going through and find solutions to make a difference.
Is this consistent with your history? Since you've been in the Senate, have you not endorsed the Democrat for mayor of New York City in the previous cycles, one way or another?
I don't know that I've endorsed candidates for mayor in the past in New York City, and I don't know that I've been asked by those candidates. So it's just not something that I typically do.
You haven't gone to rallies for Democratic candidate, because we're talking about the general election now, not different Democrats against each other in the primary, but running against Republicans and non-Democratic independents. it was not automatic for you in the past? You just stayed out of it?
So generally, that's accurate.
So I just want to tell you that she's a fucking liar. Among the Democrats who endorsed Adams on Monday were U.S. Senators Kirsten Gillibrand and Charles Schumer, though they did not make appearances at the rally. State Comptroller Tom DiNapoli, U.S. Representatives Gregory Meeks, Grace Menge, and Gerald Nadler all stood by Adams as they endorsed him. Meeks, Menge, and Nadler had all each previously endorsed other candidates in the primary. This was August 3rd, 2021. She's a fucking liar. Point blank, a liar.
But this is not going to be a race of one Democrat versus one Republican. I think it may be a much more complex race because multiple people.
He's not a Democrat. If you're an independent, you're not a Democrat. The Democratic Party has made their selection. If you run as an independent, you're running against the Democratic Party, and to win, you're going to need the right. This is disqualifying primary Gillibrand now.
We'll have multiple lines. But again, I respect New York voters. And as I said, what I think the Democratic nominee did well was laser-like focus on affordability. And it's the number one issue in the state right now. It's the number one issue in every part of New York. And it's the most important thing for Democrats to be focused on is how do we help people afford housing? How do we help them afford food, and how do we help them afford providing for their kids? And the Trump administration is not helping us at all with his irrational approach towards tariffs, with his engagement in war with Iran. It is a huge problem for communities, for families, for businesses, just to afford the everyday things that their children and their families need. So that's where my focus has been.
All right, let me take one call on this, and then we will move on to the so-called Big Beautiful Bill, which I see you're calling the Big Beautiful Betrayal, and the U.S. bombing of Iran with you on the Armed Services Committee. But Gwadia in Queens, you're on WNYC with Senator Gillibrand, and you want to talk about the nomination of Mamdadni, right?
Yeah, so I'm interested because, now that he has become the Democratic nominee, I was just going to ask my senator if she's willing to support him for the general election. That's really my question, and I'll hang up on this.
So you heard the answer. Did you have any reaction to that answer?
If I have any reaction, well, I feel like, he did pretty well campaigning. I did actually, did some campaigning for him as well, even though I do have a full-time shift working and all that stuff, but in between, I was doing a couple of things for him. I feel like he pulled his soul and also his effort to try to win this. And
this poor guy is nervous. Probably first politician he's ever volunteered for, and this fucking scum ass, disgusting parasite. No, vote blue no matter who. Vote blue no matter who. Notice how it's not happening. So many liberals predicted it would be, but it's not.
I don't know. I just feel like he should have more support, and that's basically it. Thank you so much.
Thank you for your call. I appreciate it. With Senator Kirsten Gillibrand, 212-433, WNYC, 433-9692. Call or text. All right, Trump's so-called Big Beautiful Bill, which they are hoping to get through the Senate before the July 4th recess. I see you have a press release calling it the Big Beautiful Betrayal. Why is that?
It's a big, beautiful betrayal because he's cutting lifelines for so many Americans. The bill is going to cut 14 million Americans off of their health care, both not only requirements for Affordable Care Act, but also requirements under Medicaid that will make it impossible for people to receive health care. So that's one gut punch. It's about $1 trillion of cuts to healthcare, and sending that $1 trillion instead of funding healthcare to billionaires and people who are getting massive tax breaks. That's the biggest problem with the bill. The second thing is it will be the largest cut to food security in our nation's history. It'll cut about $300 billion out of the SNAP program. If you don't know what SNAP is, it's food assistance. So it funds programs like Meals on Wheels. It funds medically tailored meals for veterans. It funds school and summer program lunch food for kids. It funds almost every imaginable funding for food banks and food security. So it's just going to mean people will go hungry and people will have a lot more challenges in their life. It does a lot of other things in terms of green energy and making sure we have green jobs and making it harder for people to put their money in places that help keep our country green and clean air and clean water. So that's going to be problematic. Of the tax cuts that we used to have for people to make their house more energy efficient, install insulation, do heat pumps or solar panels, energy efficient windows and doors, all of that's going to be deleted. So it just means less people will be able to afford helping keep our air and water clean.
How much of what you don't like in the bill can Democrats and some dissenting Republicans stop?
So right now I haven't heard of which Republicans will side with us. What we've been able to stop so far is a lot of things that were in the bill that were overreaches that weren't appropriate for a tax bill. The purpose of a reconciliation bill is to do tax policy and to lower the debt.
Don't you love that you only need 51 votes to lower taxes, but if you want to do any programs that are going to help people, you need 60 votes? It's weird how the Senate's priorities seem to be set up so the Republicans could do everything they want, cut programs and taxes with 51 votes, but Democrats can't do anything they want without 60. Very odd.
This bill increases the debt by $3 trillion. So it also had a lot of policy in it that it's not allowed.
Guys, I really don't care about her opinion on the... I don't care about her thoughts on that.
One question. I wanted to ask two very pertinent questions about the threats facing the Jewish community, unfortunately, from Zohran Mamdadni. There was a bill that I was reading about that, unfortunately, he wants to target synagogues and Jewish institutions which donate to nonprofits, which are medical institutions like United Hatzalah and Magan David Adam, which is like the Jewish Red Cross.
So Zohran has a bill that says that you should not be able to have tax breaks for donating to settler groups that occupy or build illegally in settled land in the West Bank. It's revoking your tax exempt status if you do illegal settlement. That's what the bill he's talking about is.
How do we make sure that Jewish institutions are protected from his plans to punish and fine our institutions which fundraise these medical nonprofits, which do work both here in the United States and in Israel and other countries in the world? And also, how can we hold Mr. Mamdadni accountable for his glorifying association of Hamas and other terror bombings of the Intifada in 1990s, where over 1,000 Jewish Israelis were killed, to his revisionist Holocaust knowledge, to the Warsaw Ghetto Uprising, where Jews were mass exterminated and faced threats? He compared when Jews were killed to when Jews fought back against Nazis. It's quite despicable. I'm sorry.
Gabe, thank you for...
None of that is true. Every single thing he just said was a lie. It's very important to understand with Zionists and fascists in general, they're liars. Like, they have absolutely no interest in the truth. They're there to manipulate you and lie for their fascist agenda. That caller was a liar and a knowing one.
You call it. There's a lot in there, Senator, some of which may be inaccurate. So I don't know. I can't fact check everything in real time, but do you know any of that to be inaccurate or accurate, including the original premise that he would somehow target synagogues if they were contributing to groups like Hatzolah, ambulance services, in a way that he could hurt the synagogues? I just don't want to give out information that's false, but I also don't want to shrink from information that's true.
Well, the caller is exactly the New York constituents that I've spoken to that are alarmed. They are alarmed by past public statements. They are alarmed by past positions, particularly references to global jihad.
At no point has Zohran Mamdadni called for global jihad. This is just batshit crazy lies.
This is a very serious issue because people that glorify the slaughter of Jews create fear in our communities. The global intifada is a statement that means destroy Israel and kill all the Jews.
That's not what it means. This is a point-blank Islamophobic lie. And this is who the Democratic Party is. This is why we have to fight against them. And we need to primary almost every single one of them, especially the people like Kirsten Gillibrand that have been in lockstep for the Israeli genocide since day one.
So these are the kinds of things that if Mr. Mamdadni is elected our mayor, we'll need to assure all New Yorkers that he will protect all Jews and protect houses of worship and protect funding for not-for-profits that meet the needs of these communities. Those are the things he'll have to do as our mayor.
He would certainly say that he has committed to protecting all Jews in New York as mayor of New York. Do you dispute? Do you doubt that?
Well, one of the issues I did talk to him yesterday was exactly this issue, and he has agreed to work with me on this and to protect all residents.
Here's general my feeling about this and Zohran. Like I know at Zohran it's very difficult to try to like change the entire conversation by yourself as a single candidate, which is why I am not expecting him to be able to change the conversation. I'm going to change the conversation. You're going to change the conversation. I trust him. Maybe I'm wrong. He's a politician. I trust him to be good on Palestine. I am not going to make him go out there and change the conversation. I'm going to change the conversation. Kirsten Gillibrand needs to be dealt with politically. We have to put pressure on her. You have to raise your voice and to tell her to endorse him and to stop spreading these blatant lies. Disgusting.
So this is something I care deeply about, and so I will be an advocate on these issues. These are things that I think are important to New Yorkers, and I will work with him when he gets elected, if he gets elected, to make sure everyone is protected. I also, on the federal level, work to get resources for all our religious sites in the state and in the city. I lead the letter for funding for I lead the letter for the funding to protect synagogues and churches and temples and places of worship across our city and state. And these are things that he has assured me in my one conversation that he will protect everyone. But I understand why people are concerned because of past statements. And so this is just an issue that I will work with him on for sure.
Hani in Prospect Heights, you're on WNYC with Senator Gillibrand. Hello, Hani.
Senator, good morning. So we all obviously care a great deal about public radio. We wouldn't be listening to you right now if we didn't. So from your perch on the Appropriations Committee, tell us what you can about the rescission package. Where is it going, and what are you doing to get your Republican colleagues to oppose it? I know that there are a few of your colleagues who are very concerned about the effect this rescission will have
I think this
on...
is that it? Is that it? Oh, okay, he does more.
Best in trying to spread democracy, authoritarianism rises. When you have authoritarianism rising across the globe, it's most they're
On Mamdani, I just feel compelled to say we can find no evidence that he has supported Hamas or has supported violent jihad, as that caller was asserting.
She said it. She said it.
Can you?
Again, Brian, I don't have all the data and information, and I've never sat down with Mr. Mamdani. So I've asked to have that meeting. I'm going to have that meeting. We will talk through all these things. He can tell me his views of the world, and I can learn them firsthand. I think the reference that I had read was global intifada specifically, which has very...
Basically, this is just this is full-blown Islamophobic anti-Arab racism. That's all it is. It's, oh, this is an Arab-sounding word, Arabic-sounding word. Arab scary, Arab scary. He said Arab. Did you know he's Muslim? It's a racist. It's not even a dog whistle. It's a racist bull. Actually, it's just racist. She's just a fucking racist, period.
Serious meanings that are violent and destructive.
Right now, Israel, it was just reported, and we covered it earlier, that Israel is shooting unarmed civilians begging for food, that they're starving to death from the orders from high command. And she's talking about violence?
So,
which he says, and I pressed him on this on the show on Monday, but which he says are not calls for violence, because intifada is a much broader term involving all kinds of uprisings and resistance and things like that. So I just want to be clear about how at least he defines it. And maybe he needs to be more clear. I don't mean this. I don't mean that. He did say here that he didn't want to be the word police, even as the mayor of New York, if he's elected. But I do also want to be clear that he said he does not support violent intifada. Is that fair?
So, Brian, I didn't hear your exchange with him, but if I was speaking to him directly, I would simply say that is not how the words are received. And it doesn't matter what meaning you have in your brain. It is not how the word is received.
He said an Arab word. We hate that.
And when you use a word like intifada to many Jewish Americans and Jewish New Yorkers, that means you are permissive for violence against Jews. It is a serious word. It is a word that has deep meaning. It has been used for wars across time and violence and destruction and slaughter and murder against the Jews. It is a harmful, hurtful, inappropriate word for anyone who wants to represent a city as diverse as New York City with 8 million people. And I would be very specific in these words, and I would say you may not use them again if you expect to represent everyone ever again, because they are received as hateful and divisive and harmful. And that's it. So I appreciate that he told you he didn't mean that, and that's great. That's a great place to start.
Also clarify, or he was clarifying, that he never said globalize the intifada. He was asked in an interview if he would denounce the phrase globalize the intifada, and then that led to this kind of conversation, that you were just referring to, but that he was never out there saying globalize the intifada. He was asked about other people who used it. So just to be precise about what happened there. Yes.
She was saying that he wants to globalize the jihad because he said that he's not going to denounce it because it has other meanings. And now she says he's in favor of global jihad. Do you see how quickly that went from, oh, he said global jihad, when in fact he had just refused to denounce someone because there was a meaning that he understood. You see how quickly these anti-fucking Arab racists shift the conversation? What a disgusting rat.
Leader of a city as diverse as New York City with 8 million people, as the largest Jewish population in the country, he should denounce it. And that's it. Period.
From the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. And I swear to God that we will bring fucking retribution for these fucking genociders. It's gonna happen. I don't care if it happens tomorrow, next year, or in 20 fucking years. We're gonna rip down any edifice that has your name etched, any award, any title. We're gonna rip it down. Disgusting.
And you can't celebrate it, you can't value it, you can't lift it up. And that is the challenge that Jewish New Yorkers have had, certainly since October 6th. So October 7th, it is exactly what they have felt. It is why Jewish students in our universities have felt unsafe. It is why Jewish students have felt...
Notice how everything is about feelings while there's a genocide that's killing kids and killing civilians by the hundreds of thousands. They're talking about feelings. They're feeling bad because they support a country that's committing genocide and people are protesting it. Can you imagine that argument in civil rights? Oh, we have so many white students from Alabama and Columbia, and they feel so uncomfortable when you guys protest, Jim Crow. Oh, we have students from South Africa, and they get so uncomfortable when you protest apartheid. What are you talking about?
That their schools did not have their backs and cared about them or their learning, because the people doing these protests use words that have meanings that are far more violent and horrific than they may have intended. But when you hear things like intifada, when you hear things like jihad, when you hear from the river to the sea, it is received as slaughter the Jews and destroy Israel. Period. It's how it's...
You invented that! Oh, you're saying free rights, for equal rights for all? Well, I received that as kill all white people. That's an insane position. What are you talking about?
Received. And if you talk to any group, you talk to our LGBTQ community, you talk to our Black community, you talk to our Hispanic community, there are words and there are imagery and there are things that are said that they will hear it and feel it as a dagger to their throat. And so if you want to be a leader, you have to recognize how these things are felt and received, and saying there should be no word police is irresponsible. Because as a leader, you have to protect everyone. Period.
One more thing before you go. For you as a member of the Armed Services Committee, the U.S. bombing of Iran. Did you support or oppose engaging militarily like that? And do you think President Trump exceeded his authority by launching a major military strike on another country without Congress's approval? The Constitution gives Congress the power to declare war.
President Trump does not have the power to declare war. He should not have engaged militarily without checking with...
What a disgusting rat. What a disgusting fucking rat. Jesus Christ. This is what I mean about the Democratic Party. That's why trying to win over the Democratic Party is such a bad idea. It's such a bad idea. I know Zohran just won the primary, but even when you win, they don't back you. Do you see what I said? Exactly what I predicted that happened. You win the Democratic primary, centrist Dems decamp the party. I told you it would happen. It's fucking happening right in front of your eyes. Why are you running for a party that has a fucking dog shit approval rating? Can we leave this party and start a new one? And I can tell you the American people would fucking love it. They would flow to this. Maybe it would take a cycle or two, but for the love of God, we need to get rid of all of them. There's rarely anybody who's worth saving. What, 40 Congress people max? Let's be honest. Maybe 5 senators. What are we doing?
Mike, I don't know who you are. I don't know where you are. But you may want to start changing your ways. Change